And for those that might not be familiar, we are the state agency that helps North Carolina students plan and pay for their education. And we are pleased to bring you CFNC.org, the website where you and your students can go for everything that you need related to the college going process and financial aid. Students are able to apply to college, find information on residency, FAFSA resources. We also have a scholarship search portal available. So if you're not familiar with our site, make sure that you check it out at cfnc.org. And for today's presenter, I have Tamika Ruffin. She is the CFNC Associate Outreach Director, and she's going to be giving you all a great information about evaluating financial aid offers and everything that you need to know to make sure that you're making good decisions once you get those offer letters later this year. So Tamika, I will stop sharing my screen and I will pass it over to you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Natalie. Just let me know if you can see the screen and I will definitely get started. Good evening,
Yes.
everybody. Okay, good. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Evaluating Financial Aid Offer Letters. I'm excited to be here with you to talk about a kind of a confusing but an anticipating time of the year when you start to get offers from colleges. Natalie gave you a little overview about CFNC, but definitely visit our site. We have lots of really great free information on there that can help you with all phases depending on where you are in the process. So one of the things that I like to start out with is kind of first things first, right? Hopefully you've attended all of the different the webinar series that we had this month. This is Financial Aid sort of Awareness Month for us. And so we wanted to be sure that we offered you a lot of information. If you have not, definitely go to our YouTube channel to get more, to see the other videos that kind of broke down a lot of the stuff that I'm going to assume that you know this evening. One of the things that I do want to kind of just make sure we're all on the same page is that there are a couple of things that have to be done before you get an offer. So I'm going to be talking about the offers that you get from colleges, but there are a couple of things that you have to be sure you do in order to get that offer. First, of course, you have to apply to the college. So I didn't really want to put that on here because that seems the most obvious is that you do have to apply to the colleges that you are applying to. And for the four-year colleges, you have to have been admitted. And a lot of times to get those full offers. So applied and been admitted to the four-year schools. Now, the other thing, of course, sort of the foundation for a lot of the offers from the colleges is that they are basing a lot of it off of the financial forms that they offer. Now, all the colleges offer the FAFSA form, which is the free application for federal student aid. Again, if you haven't gone back to listen to our other webinars, be sure that you do so you can understand all the wonderful things you can get done through the FAFSA. But that's sort of the foundation of your offer. And that's why it's so important that you be sure that you get that done. The earliest, of course, I know we have different grade levels and ages on here. The earliest that you can do that FAFSA is the fall of your senior year. The other thing that I want to be sure that you get done is that once you complete whatever financial forms the colleges have, and especially the FAFSA, that you complete any additional kind of forms that they ask for. So you might submit the FAFSA, you may have submitted your admissions application, but the college may be still asking you for additional information. And that's why it's so important that students, once you submit those admissions applications, that you check your emails often. Colleges are communicating with you to let you know if they need additional information from you. A lot of times they'll want you to log onto their college's portal so that you can see what items are needed. But that's so important because the colleges will not give you an offer until they've gotten all their documents. So be sure that after you submitted those financial forms in the FAFSA that you turn in any additional forms that the college is asking you for. And then the other thing I do want to be sure that students do before you start getting the offers is applying for individual scholarships, right? So of course the colleges are going to try their best to give you a great offer to come to your school, but that does not stop your application process for individual scholarships. So I do want you to be sure that you are continuing to apply for individual scholarships while you're waiting on college offers and financial offers from schools. Now, one of the things that I do like for everybody to be sure that you understand is kind of you're waiting on this financial offer from the college, but I want to be sure that you are clear on all of the expenses that they're expecting you to cover. So we kind of have them broken down by direct and indirect costs. For the direct costs, these are the costs that you're going to get a bill for. So these are the most important things. So if you know nothing else about the school as you're waiting for their offer, you want to be sure that you understand and you're clear on the tuition and fees. Tuition and fees are all the classes, of course, that you're taking and the fees associated with those classes. So if you're going to a two-year school, that's primarily what you'll be billed for. If you're planning to go to a four-year college, though, they're going to also, if you're going to live on that four-year college campus, they're going to also ask you to kind of sign up for housing and meals, and that's also going to be on the bill. So those are the direct costs. And that's why it's so important that you know exactly what those items are. The other items up here are the indirect costs, and these are the costs that they are kind of assuming that you know, but a lot of times, a lot of families are not quite sure what all of those other items are that you're not being billed for. So obviously now, once you graduate from high school and you're going into college, a lot of those free book deals are over, right? So now you're going to have to start purchasing the books that you need for your classes. So you do want to pay attention to the average cost for books at a lot of schools. You can ask them that, but they also have a lot of them have it listed on their websites, which I'll show you in just a second. But on average, you want to kind of look at the cost for books and supplies. It really does vary depending on your major and your program, but the colleges do a really good job of giving you an average of what that might be. Transportation is also something you want to keep in mind when you're thinking about going to college, whether or not it's a local school, community college, or you're planning to go away to a four-year school. You have to think about, how am I going to get back and forth there? So transportation is also one of those items that they sort of include in their cost of attendance because they want you to think about that. If you're thinking about going out of state, they absolutely want you to think about transportation, right? How often are you going to come back and forth home? Are you going to carry your car? If you're not going to carry your car, what is that going to look like? If you do carry your car on a lot of the four-year college campuses, you do have to purchase a parking permit. So that's also included in the transportation expenses. And then the other thing will be personal and miscellaneous expenses. And I always tell students and families, it's like you are really going to be living, if you do plan to live on a college campus, you're living there. So what does it take for you to live every day? What are those items that you need from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night that you need to live? And that's what they have as their personal and miscellaneous expenses. So all of these items make up a college's cost of attendance. So usually when you talk to them or you're having a conversation with them, they'll let you know what their cost of attendance is. But this is sort of a breakdown of what those items are when you're looking at the total cost to go to a college. Now, I've done a little bit of research to kind of show you some samples of some cost of attendance for different schools, and you can absolutely do the same thing. The easiest way to find a college's cost of attendance is to go to that college's website, and in the search bar, just simply type in cost of attendance and it will give you a breakdown. They're required to have a breakdown of their cost of attendance. And again, they all do a really good job now of doing that. So I wanted to give you sort of a sample of what you're looking for. At the community colleges, they're a little bit different, right? Because a lot of students, of course, are not living there. Some of the students are going part-time, some students are going full-time. So they usually give you a breakdown by credit hour. And so on the left, you'll see an example of a community college's cost of attendance. One of the things that I want you to pay attention to if you're planning to be a full-time student, let's say at a two-year school, is to pay attention to how many credit hours you're planning to take, right? So let's say for most schools, to be a full-time student, is usually 12 credit hours. So I'm going to go straight to that 12 credit hour line, and I'm going to look to see how much the tuition is for taking 12 credit hours, which is usually about 4 classes, right? And it'll show you what the activity fees, what all the fees are that are associated with taking those classes, which yes, you do have to pay the fees. So they give you a breakdown though of what those fees are. And then you can kind of scroll over and see. And then again, as I mentioned before, a lot of colleges will estimate for you the cost of books. And so you'll want to see on average, they're kind of estimating this is how much a full-time student would spend on their books. And then they'll give you the full cost of attendance, right? So it's like a little bit over $1,500, which is really great when it comes to being being a full-time student at a community college, right? But the other thing that I do want you to pay attention to here is that full-time can mean a different price. So that's why I want you to really think about how many credit hours you're taking, because you'll notice that, let's say I decide I want to take 15 credit hours. So now instead of paying a little bit $1,500, my price now has gone to about $1,800. So that's one of the things that you want to just be clear on, is exactly how many hours you're planning to take. And they usually will tell you exactly how much it will cost for that. Now, for the four-year colleges, they're a little bit different, right? Because they have other expenses. This is an example of a public college, and you'll see there are costs of attendance here at the bottom. And then usually with the public colleges, again, they're going to give you a breakdown just like the community college would, as far as what their tuition costs. But they're usually just going to give it to you kind of straightforward, because most students are typically full-time, even though you can be less than that. Most students at a four-year college are full-time. So they give you what the cost for a full-time student for just tuition. Anytime you see that word tuition, it is just classes. So they're telling you that's what it costs for their tuition or the classes to go there. And then they're letting you know what the fees are. And so remember when I said fees are not optional, you do have to pay for those. So that's why I have this also circled when they have broken down their cost of attendance. And that's what I kind of want you to think about. When you're looking at colleges' cost of attendance, what is their tuition, right? How much are their fees? Because that's what you're going to get billed for. And then one of the other items that I mentioned you're going to get billed for is going to be your housing and for your meals. So my priority when I initially look at this cost of attendance is I'm trying to be sure that I pull out the items that I know that I'm going to get a bill for. And that's going to be for the tuition and fees and the room and the meals. Now, after I looked at those items to kind of see, okay, this is what our bill is going to be, then I'm going to look at the other items that they have listed on here, because again, you're not going to be billed for those items, but you are going to be expected to cover those expenses. So you want to know what they are. It can vary though, again, depending on your classes and what you're taking. But that kind of totals up, again, all of that totals up the cost of attendance. So just be sure that you're pulling that out. And then the private colleges, they look a little bit different a lot of times. I do love this private college, their cost of attendance breakdown, because for one, they tell you what the tuition and fees are. We do know private colleges do cost a little bit more than the public colleges. However, I always tell students and parents, and I'm going to say it probably 10 more times, is that private colleges do have private funding though. So you do want to also keep in mind that yes, their price is what it is, but they may have some additional institutional money to be able to offer you. So you look here, they let you know what their tuition and fees are. They tell you what it is for their housing and food. And then they give you sort of the total like direct cost. And they actually were nice enough to let you know on average how much students are being offered from their school per year. So when we're looking at getting an offer from a college, they're kind of just letting you know, yes, we know our price is a little bit more than others, but on average, students do have a financial aid package that's about this amount. So I do like that. And then they were also nice enough to let you know their complimentary items. It's kind of funny, but it actually is really good for them to give you a breakdown of what you get free. Yes, our school may cost $69,000 a year, but you get all of these things free. So I do like that about a school. And so I do want you to pay attention to them letting you know. One of the cool things I did notice that they said was complimentary is parking. So remember I said that they have a transportation cost for a lot of schools. They're just letting you know that you don't have to pay for parking there. So you do want to pay attention to those type of things when you're looking at a private college. But all of the cost of attendance, again, will be on their website. So definitely check them out so you can get a breakdown. So your part was to understand the cost of attendance, right? To understand what that looks like. The college then is trying to see what they can actually offer you. So you filled out the FAFSA. Remember, I said that's the foundation for all the offers, or a lot of the offers that you're going to get from those colleges, whether they're 2-year or 4-year. So this student filled out the FAFSA. They got a summary at the end. So after you hit submit, when you do your FAFSA, they give you a FAFSA submission summary. They usually give it to you through email, but you can also log on to the website and see what your summary is. This is also something that is being sent to all the colleges that you list on the FAFSA form. So when you are filling out the form, they're asking you, what colleges do you want us to send it to? If it's your first year, you're probably applying to multiple colleges. So you're able to list all of those colleges, and the colleges will get a copy of your summary. In that summary, they're going to have in there a number that's really important to them. It won't mean a whole lot to you, but it's really important to them. And it's called a student aid index. And they do list it on your FAFSA submission summary. And it basically is a number to try to help them figure out sort of your family's financial sort of need to come to their school. So yes, they understand that you need money to come there, but they're trying to really drill down and see what is this family's sort of financial need. And how they determine that is they use this student aid index as a starter, right? So when you see your FAFSA submission summary, definitely pay attention to what that is, because the colleges will be doing that for sure. Now, what they do with that student aid index number, or SAI is what you'll probably hear them refer it to, is they'll take the cost of attendance. So you've already looked at the cost of attendance for all the colleges, right? So you saw the breakdown. They're going to be using that same cost of attendance, and they're going to subtract what your student aid index number is. Now, that student aid index number can go from like negative 1,500 to up to over $900,000, right? So just depending on what they determine that number to be for you will be what they'll use to subtract from their cost of attendance. And then that tells them what your financial need is. So just to show you in numbers over here, you'll see the cost of attendance here, which for a school was $24,000 for this student, was that college's cost of attendance. The student filled out the FAFSA or the financial form, it subtracted what their student aid index number is, and then it tells you what this family's financial need is. This is why I do like for students to apply to multiple colleges, because again, once you start looking at the cost of attendance for these colleges, you'll see that all of them are very different. So for this school, the family's financial need is $16,000. But let's say that we looked at that school that was $60,000 and we use this same student aid index number. We're going to have a greater need at that other school. So we might be eligible for some things at another school that we're not eligible for at one school. So I just wanted to give you a breakdown, though, of how colleges start to determine what your family's financial need really is, right? So I know if they ask you, you'll probably tell them a million things that you need for college, but they have a formula in place to kind of help them figure out what they're about to offer you. And once they do that formula, then they're starting to look at, yes, we know that it costs this much to go here, but let's make it a priority to offer this student up to at least their financial need to come here. Let's try to do that first. And what do they use to start putting your offers together? They're using lots of different pots of money to kind of bring your offer to life, right? Which is why we like for students to fill out the forms like the FAFSA, because it gives you different pots of money for them to dig from. Let's say that you didn't do the FAFSA and you just applied to the college, then all of these boxes that you see here, all these boxes of money, you would not be considered for. What you'd be considered for would be maybe some institutional money, but that would be it from the college. When you fill out forms like the FAFSA, though, you're being considered for money from lots of different resources. So they're looking at federal funds, they're looking at state funds. One of the things I want to mention about the state funds is that state funds do have to be used in your state. So let's say I'm a student that's a senior in high school now. I've applied to multiple schools. Some of those schools are out of state. The only thing I'm going to be considered for from the out-of-state schools are going to be federal money and the institution's money. I'm not going to be considered for any state money if I'm going out of state, because any of the money that's being offered from your state to go to college has to be used at a college or university in your state. But if you're going or thinking about a college in your state, you'll be considered for your state funds. And then you'll also be considered for that college's institutional money. I do have a box over here to let you know too, that of course they're also going to be considering any type of outside scholarship money that you're bringing in. So remember, I said one of your steps in this process is to continue to apply for scholarships, because they do want to try to give you a good offer, but they're hoping that you're also applying for scholarships to fill in the gap where they may not meet for you. So they're looking for these type of funds to be able to offer you to come to their school. The type of money that they're trying to give you are scholarships. So although there are individual scholarship applications, there are scholarships that are offered directly from filling out, let's say, the FAFSA or any other financial form that that college may have. So you are being considered for some scholarships through that process. Not all of them are based on grades or community service. Some of them can just be based off the fact that you're in a certain major and that you're from a certain part of the state or that you're from a certain state. So there are scholarships that you're being considered through this process. You're also being considered for grants, and grants are like scholarships because it's free money, but grants do look at your family's financial need. So when you're looking at a grant, when they're trying to see whether or not your family gets a grant, they're going to go right to that formula that I just showed you, which was the cost of attendance minus your SAI that tells them your family's financial need. If you have a financial need, then that's when you're considered for those grants, because grants do look at the financial need of families. And then you're also being considered for work study. So they're trying to see whether or not they can offer you a part-time job. I love for college students to have part-time jobs. I think it's good for so many reasons, but it's a chance for you to also to earn money while you're in school. So they're trying to consider you for a part-time job. And then they're also trying to be sure that they're giving you as many options as they can to help pay your bill. And one of those options that they are also going to make sure that you are aware of are the student loans and the parent loan options. So that's also a part of the offers that they're trying to give you to come to their school. As we're talking about the loans, I do want you to at least to be clear with the loans, they have an amount. Some of the grant amounts can vary, the scholarship amounts can vary that colleges can offer you. But for the loans, they're pretty much set as far as what they're going to offer you with that. So I just want you to be clear on what the colleges are going to offer you through the loan process. These are the amounts that students can borrow per year. So their first year students can borrow up to $5,500, second year $6,500, and junior and senior years up to $7,500. So at all the four-year schools, they participate in the loan program. So this would be the amount that you would be eligible to borrow at a school. You don't have to borrow it, but they're going to let you know that they'll have it available if you need it. Now, not all of the community colleges participate in the loan program, so you may not be offered a loan through, depending on the community college that you're going to, but all of the four-year colleges do. So I wanted you to be able to see the amounts that they allow students to borrow per year to help pay a bill at a college, and they'll always be available to you. One of the things that I wanted you to pay attention to with the loan portion is that the loans were broken up by different types of loan. So I always like to make sure students and parents are educated on the difference between the loans that you're being offered through the school. So if you notice here, I said all students are eligible, let's say, for $5,500 their first year, but you'll see that the amounts are kind of split up in different types of loan. So although I'm offering $5,500, $3,500 of that is in subsidized loan, and $2,000 of that is an unsubsidized loan. And so this is where I want you to understand the difference. Subsidized loans, and I kind of have highlighted the main things that I want you to know that's different, but subsidized loans do not have any interest accruing on it while you're in school. So I always tell families that if you are looking to invest in your future and take out a loan to help pay a bill, one of the things that you'll want to be sure that you exhaust first would probably be the subsidized loan, because there's no interest accruing on it while you're in school. You do have to sign a promissory note, which they make all students sign when they take out a loan, just promising, of course, that you're going to pay that loan back. You have to be enrolled at least part-time, which at most schools is usually 6 credit hours, which is typically 2 classes at least. And then they give you a little grace period to pay it back. So they let you celebrate your graduation. They know you worked hard while you were in school, so they let you celebrate for about 6 months, and then they start the repayment of the loan. So a lot of students do ask me, like, if I take out loans for college, when do I start paying it back? You usually start paying it back 6 months after you graduate from college is when you start the repayment process. The other thing I do want you to pay attention to as well is the interest rate, right? So every year, they have a different interest rate for student loans. Right now, for students who are in college, that interest rate goes from July 1 of last year to June 30th of this year. So I want you to be able to see what the current interest rates are for students and families that are seniors on here. You'll have a new rate because it changes July 1st of this year, but it's usually within sort of a certain range. So right now, student loans are a little bit at 6.5%. Just to kind of help you understand what I mean that the interest rates change every year. They are fixed for the life of the loan. So just to kind of break that down, if I took out $5,500 my freshman year, and let's say I took out this subsidized student loan, that freshman year $5,500 is always going to be at 6.5%. It will never change. However, if I come back as a sophomore and I want to take out a loan as my sophomore year, I'll take out that loan. They'll give me that option, but it won't be at 6.5%. It'll be at whatever that rate is for that school year. So it is fixed for the life of the loan, but they do change those rates each year. So just pay attention to that, right? Every year, if you decide that you need to take out a loan for college, that you pay attention to what the current rates are, just so you are on top of all of that. And then you'll see with the unsubsidized loan, the rates are the same. You still have to sign a promissory note. The major difference between subsidized and unsubsidized loan is that with the unsubsidized loan, the interest is accruing on that loan while you're in school. So with the subsidized, remember I said it doesn't start until after you graduate. Unsubsidized, it starts as soon as that loan pays to the college, your interest rate starts on that unsubsidized loan. So just want you to be sure of the difference, right? Understanding the interest rates and making sure that you are paying attention to that when it's time for you or if you decide to take out a loan. So that's why I always say exhaust your subsidized student loan first, and then if you need more, go to your unsubsidized loan. Now that you understand sort of the loans and you understand what scholarships are and grants, this is kind of a sample offer of what a student would get. So the students filled out the FAFSA, they filled out whatever financial paperwork they need to fill out if the college has asked for more. And then now you're waiting. Some of the seniors are on here now. You're probably waiting right now, right? Waiting for your offer. Most college offers start around March or April. So we're just about to get to that point where a lot of seniors that are currently in high school are going to start getting offers from colleges. That's typically when they start from the four-year colleges. Community colleges may be a little bit later. Some of them may not be until around May or June, depending on the community college. But four-year colleges, they typically start those around March or April. So get excited because your offers are coming. But when you get them, this is kind of what they look like. So most of the offers, again, this is why I'm gonna keep stressing students and parents to check those emails often. When they have an offer available for you to look at, they're probably going to send you an email to let you know that your financial offer is available for you to view. And you usually would have to log on to that college's website and you'll be able to see what your offer is. Just the main thing I want you to pay attention to when you log in, and after you open your eyes and after you say a sweet prayer and open your eyes and see what your offer is, you're going to look to see kind of what you've been offered. So all of these things are things that you could be offered through the school. Remember I said those grant programs. So this student got offered grants. So I'm looking for words like that. They'll have different types of headings as far as whether it's federal money, whether it's state funds, whether it's money directly through that college. They'll have different headings, but I'm looking for some of these ending words. Like if this is a grant or a scholarship, I'm definitely smiling extra hard for that because I know that's money I do not have to pay back. And then they're also going to let you know for sure if they're offering you a loan as a part of your offer to come there, you're going to pay attention to what's money that yes, that's available to you, but probably that you do have to pay back, right? Remember I said that they're going to give it broken down to you by subsidized or unsubsidized. You have the choice to choose, right? You don't have to accept the full amount for any of it. So you'll see with this student, they definitely accepted all of the free money because they know that that's the money they don't have to pay back. They're still kind of having a discussion about whether or not they want to take out a loan or not, and you'll have time to do that. Most colleges give you until about May 1st to make a decision. So you'll have a couple of months to kind of decide on whether or not you want to accept the offer or not. If you're waiting to see if you got any outside scholarships, you can do that. But the student here is kind of waiting, but if they decided they just want wanted to take $1,000 of this loan, then they would just type in $1,000 is what they want to accept from this loan. If they didn't want any of the unsubsidized loan, they could just put a zero there, and they'll know that you don't want that part of the loan. So you have the option to either accept, and if you don't want it all together, you can decline that offer. So it's not like it's required that you would take any of that. So pay attention to, having the option to accept or decline or make adjustments to amounts. The other thing I want you to pay attention to with the offers is, again, you're trying to find a school that's giving you an offer to allow you to go to school really with the least amount of debt. That's the hope, right? But also who's gotten closest to the cost of attendance to go there. And this is why I always want you to have that cost of attendance memorized, or at least know for sure what that breakdown looks like. Because as a student, when I get the offer, all I know is that I was offered a little bit over $17,000. And as I'm sure as a student, if I'm 18, 17, I'm getting excited about that because that's a lot of money, right? However, I need to keep in mind how much it costs to go to the schools that I'm applying to. So for this particular school, depending on how much it costs, I need to see whether or not this is a good offer, or if we may need to check out and see what the other offers look like from other schools. So this student got offered a little bit over $17,000. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is that if we decided we're not going to accept the student loan, then my offer now comes down to a little bit over $12,000. So pay attention to those numbers when you adjust it or decide that you're going to take a reduced amount of loan, because it definitely does change your total amount that they're offering you to come to the school. And then it makes you go back to look at the cost of attendance and see how close did they get to that. The other thing that I do want you to pay attention to on these offers that you get from the school is they usually have a little bit of wording on the form or on the same page. They'll have a next where you'll click next on the screen to see some additional information. I want you to pay attention to that additional information. One of the things is they're probably going to have some disclaimers on there. And this is one of the questions that we get a lot from families is like, okay, I'm applying for these outside scholarships. What happens? What happens to the offer that I get from the school? They're going to have the disclaimers on there letting you know that they usually do have the right to make adjustments to an offer once you have submitted any additional funding that you're getting outside of the school. But they'll definitely let you know that. So you want to read all of the disclaimers and see what that looks like. They're also going to kind of remind you that they do need to know about any outside scholarships that you're getting. Most of the scholarship donors now, once they have selected you for a scholarship, they usually have to send that money directly to the school. So whether or not you report it or not, those donors or that there are people that are giving you that scholarship are usually wanting to send that money directly to the college that you decide. So the colleges will let you know that they want to see that, because they also want to be sure that when they send you the offer, they want to remind you, of course, if you got any outside scholarship money, that yes, we were only able to offer you this, but you still have all this other outside scholarship money that's available to you to help you pay your bill here. There also may have some action steps on there. So yes, I told you, if you do decide to take out a loan, they're going to have you to sign a promissory note, again, just letting you know the interest rates and that you promise to pay the loan back, making sure you understand all of that. Some colleges have students go through a loan counseling. It's usually online. So you usually have to go through to make sure that you understand what a loan is and your responsibility as taking out a loan. If you do decide, or they offer you a part-time job, they usually will want to explain to you how you get that part-time job, what else needs to be done. And then they're also going to let you know the terms and conditions of your offer. But I always tell students, when you get an offer from a college, it may not be, let's say, like a full academic scholarship that has rules to it, but any type of financial offer that you get from a college, they do have rules to that too. And it says, it's called the satisfactory academic progress. And it basically just means that you have to maintain a certain grade point average, and you have to remain or keep a certain amount of hours. So let's say you start your freshman year and you signed up for 18 credit hours because you were I'm getting this done. I'm going to take as many classes as I can my first semester. And then once you start to get into it, you realize it might be a little too much. So maybe you want to go down to 15 credit hours. You always want to check with the financial aid office to see whether or not it's going to make any kind of effect to what they offered you. Because it could be that they're giving you that amount based off off of you being a certain amount of credit hours. So you always want to pay attention to what is their satisfactory academic progress. They call it SAP, right? They check your credit hours every semester, at the end of every semester, middle of the semester. They also check to see what your grades are, and colleges will let you know, up front what the minimum grade point average is you have to maintain in order to keep this offer. Usually they're around 2.5, 2.8, but they'll let you know what that is. So definitely read all of the small print. Then the other thing is you want to compare your offers, right? So I mentioned before that I love for students to apply to multiple colleges, especially if this is going to be, you know, if you're planning to go to a four-year college. I always say you can't compete with a community college. I mean, the prices are so affordable, which is why we love, right, community colleges. But you do want to, when you're thinking about going straight to a four-year college, you do want to have comparisons. I like for students to apply to at least 5 to 10 schools. On the FAFSA and other financial forms, they give you 20 spaces. So you can send your application to 20 different schools. And if you get admitted to all 20, you get 20 different financial offers from colleges. But it gives you the opportunity to be able to compare what one school is able to offer you over the other. So what I like for students to do after they've applied to multiple colleges is really sit down and put those offers down side by side. This is just a simple comparison chart. It's always, people always ask for a copy of this one. I promise y'all, it's just a simple Excel or a Google document. It is nothing special. But I just pretty much just put all the colleges side by side, you know, put on there what's important for you to know about the school that you want to kind of keep in mind. For one, you want to be sure, like, how much scholarship money did each one of these colleges offer me, right? So you want to put on there exactly if you got offered any scholarship money through those schools, you want to put those down side by side. You also want to put down if you got offered any grant money, again, because that's the free money. So you want to be sure that you are clear on how much grant money you may have gotten from each school. And then, of course, most of the schools are going to have offered you a student loan, so you're going to put down the student loan amount. You notice for this first school, for this student, they have 0 for student loan because this is actually a community college, so they didn't get offered a loan through that particular community college, but all the four-year schools, right, have it as an option for them to help pay the bill. And then you want to put down a line for any type of outside scholarship money that you've received. So for this student, they know so far they've received $2,000 in sort of outside scholarships that they've applied for on their own. So this student has kind of put that down, and you want to do the same because you want to, again, remember all the money that you have available to help pay your bill. And then you want to just add up everything that you have. So what I've done with this student is we just added up how much they were offered as far as to the school, you know, whether or not it's any grant, scholarship, student loan, what is that amount? So that's the amount that we have here, the total financial aid offer. And then when we have total funds available with the scholarship, this is where I included that student's outside scholarship money. So this right here lets me know for sure this is exactly the total amount with what they've offered me and what I'm bringing in with any kind of outside scholarship money. This is what I have available to attend any of these colleges. And you see how it's very different from each of the schools. This is why I like for students to apply to multiple schools, because every offer that you get from a school is going to be different. So some colleges are going to have better offers than the others. Your goal always is to try to see who got close, right? Who came the closest to that cost of attendance for me to actually go there for the year. And you'll see a lot of the colleges have gotten really close to the cost of attendance. So this student, you know, made some wise college choices, and they picked some good colleges that gave them some really good financial offers to come there. And then they just subtracted what they know they've been offered from the school from the cost of attendance. And then that tells them how much they may have left over to come out of pocket with. Because that's your main thing, is figuring out, okay, I know I've been offered this amount, but am I going to have to come out of pocket with anything else? And that's what that other line is, to see what is my responsibility as a student or parent now that we've gotten this offer from the school. And then the other thing I do always put in here, and that's just depending on you and how you're looking at the process, to see whether or not you need to take out a student loan. Some people want to see what their offers look like without having the student loan amounts in there, and that's okay if you want to do that. So this is just showing you what the student would owe that college if they did not accept any of the student loan amounts that were offered to them through those colleges. So again, just trying to help you make the most informed option that you can for your college. You'll see on here too with the community college, this student was actually offered more than they need to actually pay the bill. In those instances, and this is why I like for students to sit them down side by side, because you'll see on here they have zero balance due, they have zero balance they have to worry about with student loans. They're actually going to get a refund because they have more money, right, that was needed to pay the bill. So the student can actually expect to get some of their money back in a refund check that they can use for whatever expenses they may need or anything they may need outside of that process. So you want to pay attention to that kind of stuff. You know, what colleges are going to allow you to have to come out of pocket, what colleges are going to give you some money back based on how much you've been offered. So you want to use those kind of simple things. If you're not very savvy with Google Docs or Excel, I have you on here. So we do have some financial calculators on CFNC that will be very helpful for you to be able to use to help you calculate your offers. I do have highlighted a few of them that I think are important, and you'll get the links to these pages on CFNC after the webinar, so you'll be able to go to them. But I like the Smart Borrower because it just helps you figure out whether or not it's worth, right, borrowing the money that you're being offered to go to that college based off of your program or major. So I love that calculator. And then we also have a comparison worksheet, a link to a comparison worksheet that you can use to kind of help you compare those offers. So even though I know some of you might want me to do your Google or Excel document, there are documents you can download that helps you do that. This is another one that's really good that you'll have access to. This is a template through College Board, and it's also a good way for you to be able to compare your offers side by side. So again, if you're not savvy with Google or Excel, College Board and CFNC has your back when it comes to that. So then one of the other things I do want to mention to you after you get your offers, you'll notice that that student did have a gap as far as what the school offered them and what they need to actually cover all of their expenses. And in those instances, I just want to let you know that the colleges always do have options for you to pay a balance. So if you do have a gap between what they've offered you and what you need to pay the bill, of course, you can always pay out of pocket. They accept all forms of payment, right? You can also, colleges also have college payment plans. So if you do have a balance that's left over, you can spread out your balance over 5 to 10 months. So most of the time, it's usually a small enrollment fee that you pay to get on the payment plan, but you can enroll in the balance that you owe the school in the payment plan and make monthly payments on it. So they give you an option to do that. If you save money for college, you can always, at this time will be when you would be using your college savings money. Hopefully it's in a 529 plan. If so, we do recommend that if you are saving for college, if you save money for college, you do want to give whoever that is that you invested your money with time to withdraw and pay a bill. So we like for people to do that at least 3 to 4 weeks in advance as far as when your bill is due. So this is the time to use any money you save for college. If you still, there are some younger parents and families out there and you're interested in learning more about saving for college, there's a link here that you'll have access to. And then also colleges also have options to give you for private loans, because the loans that they offer through the college for students, they do have limits, right? Students can only borrow so much per year. And so because of that, they have private loan options, and they use, most colleges have a list of some loan, places that you can use that they know students have used at their college and have had success in paying their bill with it. So I do want to kind of let you know, they will also give you options for private loans to help pay a balance. With those private loans, they can be in the student's name. The student would just have to have a credit-worthy co-signer. And then obviously, scholarships are always going to be a thing. So remember I said, students, especially if you're a senior, do not stop applying for scholarships until you graduate, right? And even some during the summer, there might be some scholarship opportunities in the summer, but just because you get your offer from a college does not mean you have to stop applying for scholarships. You continue to do that. And then I also want to let parents out there know that they will have an option out there for you as a parent to take out a parent loan. Parent loans are strictly in the parent's name. Parents, you will go through like sort of a slight credit check process, whether you could be approved or denied for a loan that you apply for, but you're able to apply for whatever is needed to pay the bill, right? So let's say that they have given you your offer. You now have figured out you owe the school $10,000, let's just say. As a parent, they'll give you the option to take out a parent loan for $10,000. The only things I like to kind of let students and parents know in particular about these loans, of course, is that you can be approved or denied for them. If you're approved for them, they just stay in your name. I'm letting you know here what the current interest rates are for parent loans, so you'll get an idea of where they are with parent loans right now. One of the other differences with parent loans and student loans is that parent loans, there is a loan fee that's associated with it. So I do want you to pay attention to this part right here. So the interest rate for parent loans are at 9%, but then there's also a little bit over 4% loan fee. What that means for you is it's sort of like their processing fee. So a lot of times, let's say I did take out a $10,000 loan for my student for that school year, probably going to take out about 4.2% of that loan as a loan fee. And I usually tell parents to keep that in mind, especially if you're going to borrow at the exact amount that you owe. For a college, you may want to factor in if they have a loan fee and what the loan fee is. But this is currently what the rate is for loan fees for parent loans. The difference with parent loans and student loans is they do start repayment right away with parent loans. So as soon as the $10,000 that you borrow for that semester pays to that college, you will start to get repayment information. However, you will have an option where you can contact them and say, I'd actually like to stop the payments. So they will defer parent loan payments as long as the student is enrolled at least part-time. They will defer payments on a parent loan, but just be sure that you do choose that as an option. Otherwise, they will be sending you monthly payment information. The interest does continue to accrue on the parent loan, but you do have that option, because I do understand, especially for parents, they do understand that this may not be in your budget right now. If we haven't kind of factored in this loan in your budget right now to repay. So they do allow you to be able to defer those payments until you're able to make payments on the loan. And again, you can do that up until the student graduates. The other thing I want to mention with the parent loan is that, let's say my parent applies for it and they're denied the parent loan. This is the only time that they will offer the students an increase to their student loan. And this is important to know for students who are, again, you have a balance that you owe the school. You don't think your parent is going to be approved for the parent loan, and you're wondering what your other options are. If your parent does at least try to apply for the parent loan and they do indeed get denied, like you were thinking that they might, this is the only time that they will allow a student to get more in a student loan. So if my parent is denied the parent loan, my first 2 years of college, I can get up to $5,000 or $4,000 more. And then my junior and senior years, I can get up to $5,000 more in my student loan. That's important to remember. Again, just want you to know all of your options, that your parent would have to at least go through the parent loan process, be denied, and then that's when they can offer you an additional amount to help you pay a balance for the student loan. So they will have that available too. And then, as I mentioned with the private loans, one of the things I do want you to be sure that you pay attention to with private loans is that private loans are very different than the federal loans. The federal loans do have fixed rates. You know up front what the interest rates are. When you go to the private loan sector, it is a little different because it can be banks or organizations that do loans for students for college. You just want to pay attention that if you do decide to take out a loan for college, or private loan for college, that you pay attention, for one, to what the interest rates are. Are those interest rates fixed, meaning that it will stay that rate forever, or are they variable interest rates? And I always tell people to be sure that you're paying attention to whether or not an interest rate is fixed or variable. Variable means that when I first take out the loan, let's say it's at 6%, but then once I sign that loan paperwork and maybe a few months, that loan may go up to 8%. So I want to pay attention and know, what are the variable interest rates? If it is variable, how much will they go up in interest rate? Is there a cap on how far they will go up with interest rates? Pay attention to that. Also pay attention to loan fees. Are there any fees with me taking out this loan? Just as I mentioned with the parent loan, are there any fees with that? How long do I have to repay this loan, right? So I'm doing this loan to help pay for college. The loans that I get through the college, they give me, I don't have to start paying it till 6 months after I graduate. I have 10 years to pay it back. How how long do I have to repay this loan if I decide to take it? You also want to pay attention to the grace period and whether or not what their deferment options are. I always tell students, once you graduate from college, life will life, right? And so it may be times when you're not able to repay a loan. With a lot of the federal loans, they do have grace periods where they allow payments to stop if you're having a hard time. You want to ask those type of questions for the private loans. And then you also just want to know what the qualifications and requirements are. North Carolina does have an NC Assist loan that we do offer families here to help pay balances at colleges. The website to go to is ncassist.org. You can find out all the information on there. The interest rates are not variable, they are fixed and they are right in your face. So be sure that you go there if you are looking for options to pay a balance. You can use an NC Assist loan in state or out of state. So it is a good option to look at if you're looking for ways to pay a balance if you still owe a school a balance. And then lastly, I just want to mention to students and families that once you get these offers, again, usually around March or April, life can continue to life once again. And so what if something happens that changes our family dynamics in some way? What if my parents get divorced? What if there's some loss of employment by a parent? That changes everything for us, right? And so I do want to let you know that just because you have submitted the forms, you've gotten your offer, that is not the end. You can always contact the financial aid office at any of the college that you're attending and let them know that there has been a huge financial change to our family. And they can actually go back in and see whether or not it will make a difference and give you a different offer. And they can do this anytime during the school year. So it is not just exclusive to like 2 months after you get your offer, anytime as you're enrolled in college as a student. If something happens that changes the financial kind of landscape of your family, let the financial aid office know and they can go back in and see if they can give you a different offer to come to or to be at their school. So keep that in mind. It's always going to be an option. And then also we always want to tell you, of course, to stay connected after this. I gave you a lot of information and you'll get a lot of the sort of slides from this presentation, but be sure that you also go to our YouTube channel because that's where all of our previous webinars that we had this month are going to be. And we have other webinars that we do throughout the year that will be helpful for you to have. Follow us on all the social media platforms. And if you want to kind of get email alerts about different things going on in the college landscape, as it relates to CFNC, definitely sign up for our emails. We don't load your email with lots of emails, but we do try to give you and keep you up to date to what's going on in the college landscape and what's happening out there. Also visit our CFNC events page. This is where we have all of our webinars. So hopefully that's how you found out about the webinar tonight. But if not, we have lots of different webinars that go on throughout the whole school year. So visit rcfnc.org/events page so that you can learn about and not miss any great webinars that we offer through the year. So at this point, I know I said a lot, but I do want to kind of make sure I give you an opportunity if there are any questions that anybody wants to ask. I wasn't able to see the chat, so let me know if there are any questions that maybe I need to ask or address to the group.
Hey, Tamika, right now there is someone with their hand raised.
Okay,
Um,
let's
let's
see.
see. Oh, I think they lowered their hand. But
Okay.
if anyone has any questions, okay, Stacy, I see you have your hand raised, so I'll allow you to talk.
Okay.
Hello, thank you so much for this information. My question is about out-of-state students. Is it
Yeah.
beneficial for them to remove themselves from their parents and go find permanent residence in North Carolina so that they could benefit from the state rates and obviously scholarships?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is why, again, it would be good to go back to one of our beginnings about the FAFSA and sort of the forms needed. Here in North Carolina, we do require that all students fill out their residency application. So pretty much this is kind of every state is different. Some states just have it where the students are appealing to someone at the school to see whether or not they can get in-state tuition. Here in North Carolina, we do have our residency website. And so students go there to kind of see whether or not they can get in-state tuition. One of the things that I'll say, if you are looking at another state outside of North Carolina, again, all of our decisions are made through that website. But for other states, you do want to kind of know just the baseline for most of the schools. Students have to have been there at least a year. That's just the minimum. But there are lots of other things that they look at to decide on whether or not a student can get in-state tuition, because obviously that is the golden ticket, right, that everybody wants. So there's lots of requirements that they have to determine that, but the minimum is at least 12 months. But what the student is trying to prove is that they are not just there to go to college, right? That they are there to be a resident and a part of that state. And so the college or that university, if it's an out-of-state school, they can let you know what the appeal process is like for students to try to get in-state tuition. But here in North Carolina, we do have the residency website where that decision is made.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I see that Ted, you have your hand up, so I'll allow you to unmute.
Thank you very much. Nice presentation. I'm confused about where in the process you apply to the school that you indicated on the FAFSA. Do you wait until you see the offer and then apply, or am I confused?
No, that's a great question. I know so I can tell right now you're not a senior parent, right? Because you would be having a whole lot of answers for me. But this is how the process works for students. They start applying to the college, like usually at the beginning of their senior year. That's usually the timeline. So usually between September, December, that's when students are filling out their admissions application for the school. And again, as I mentioned before, in order to get the offers for the financial offers from the school, you're kind of doing some of it at the same time. So a lot of times students are filling out their admissions applications. They're filling out the FAFSA application and what other financial forms the college may need. And then if it's a four-year college, if they get admitted, after they filled out their admissions application, if they get admitted, then that's when they'll start the sort of financial offer process. So usually it's in the fall that students are applying and filling out all the applications. And then in spring is when they start to fill or find out their offers from the school. So that's kind of the timeline.
So you need to be admitted before you will get an offer.
Well, especially for the four-year college, and I will say this, private colleges, again, because they do know their prices are a little bit more, sometimes when a student fills out the admissions application, they may wave a little carrot, right, to keep you interested in their school. But the full, financial offer doesn't come until the student has been fully admitted to the school and has filled out the FAFSA application.
One last question. What if you left off a school on FAFSA that you would like to add?
Yeah, so that's not a problem either. Because it's an online website, you can always log back onto the FAFSA site. There is a school section. Of course, you can just go back to the school section, add that school, and just resubmit it.
Super. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Tamika, we have a question on the Q&A, and it's about the FAFSA. So they are asking, so her and her husband filed taxes married, but filed separately.
Yeah.
And he carries the son on his taxes, and they added her daughter to it as well. So the parents asking if they can remove the dad from the form, even though they filed separately.
Yeah, that's a good question. So technically, now, I think at the beginning you said that you're married, right? So if you are still married and living together, they do want both parents' income information on the FAFSA. So you do have to put both of that on there, even though you did file separately. Normally with that process, and what I've seen with a lot of students whose parents are not along with that, there are other students where that is the case. Either the parent would have to enter in the information manually because they may not be able to transfer your tax information over, or you would have to it will tell you that you would need to contact the school so that you could submit the information to the school. But they are going to want both parents' income information, whether or not you apply separately, if you're still married or living together.
And Tamika, thank you. And I think those were all the questions that we had. So thank you everyone. And again, this is recorded, and so you will all get the recording later on this week. And if you're interested in looking at past recordings from any of our other webinars this month, you're able to go to the CFNC YouTube page and access them there. And you also get the slides as well at a later time, again, when you get the recording for all of those that registered. So thank you again for your time, and I hope that you all have a great evening.
Bye, everyone.